All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm excited. Today is all about why your brain keeps choosing the same damn patterns, even when you're over it. We've all experienced those times in our life when we logically think, don't do that again, or don't be that way again, or don't react that way again. Yet, we go back and we do that same thing, even when we know that we don't, we shouldn't, it doesn't work, all of those things. So, really today is about what our brain's doing. And I'm going to just share why your brain keeps looping into those same cycles and really how you can break free from them without needing willpower, mantras, or 57 self-help books. Okay, so if you're not crazy, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. It's literally how our brains are wired. So our brain's primary directive is to keep us alive. It's all there is. It's the number one job is to keep you alive. It's not to make you happy. It's not to help you reach your goals. Just alive, just to keep you alive, which is important, right? But from an evolutionary standpoint, your brain evolved to detect danger and keep you safe from predators, cliffs, starvation, not from the anxiety spiral that you go into every time you think about raising your prices, launching your business, or responding to your partner or your husband, whatever that is, right? It's still using that same ancient wiring, if you will. So when you try to do something unfamiliar, like setting boundaries, speaking on stage, saying no without guilt, your brain often flags that as unsafe, not because it is unsafe, but because it's unknown. So the amygdala is part of the brain that's responsible for that threat detection. When it perceives danger, real or imagined, it activates that fight, flight, or freeze response. The problem is the amygdala doesn't know the difference between a tiger and a tough conversation, between a high stakes presentation and an emotional exposure from being seen. So your body responds to modern day emotional threats the same way it would to physical threats, by shutting you down, making you procrastinate, or pushing you to retreat. Now, the basal ganglia is involved in habit formation, and it turns repeated behavior into unconscious patterns because predictability is safety. So if you've spent decades pleasing others to avoid conflict, or overworking to feel worthy or make other people happy, or just playing it stay safe and not doing something that's risky but really would make your heart sing, it's your brain has labeled those behaviors as efficient survival strategies. Stay small, be safe, right? So you got to try to do something new. Even if it's better for you, perceived threat, staying stuck in old loops equals perceived safety. So even if the loop is hurting you, your brain goes, at least you know how this one ends. So the good news is that our brain is plastic. There's neuroplasticity, which means it can change. Thanks to neuroplasticity, we know that your brain can rewire old beliefs. It can create new default responses, and it can unlearn fear-based patterns. But it doesn't happen through sheer willpower. It happens when you work with the subconscious, not against it. And, it's really, there's a lot of different modalities out there that can help you do this, but the modality that I use is MAP, Make Anything Possible. And this is when you can bypass the mental gymnastics, if you will, and go straight to the operating system. So helping the brain let go of those outdated fear responses and create new empowering patterns without activating the threat alarm. So you can rewire those beliefs that are wired to keep you safe. It's a little bit like your inner operating system gets a software update, and suddenly that self-sabotage file just doesn't run anymore. And it's not about spending a lot of time. It's about having your brain, what I call your superconscious, go to work for you. So one of my clients, when we were doing this work, she was creating she had sold her business and she was kind of creating what was next. And, how come my morning routine is this and I'm working so hard? I don't ever want to work as hard as I did. And when we got to the end, what was freed up in her brain was the idea of creating this toy that she wanted to bring to market that she'd had for a long time, but had diminished it, right? It was the unknown. I don't know how to do this. How can I do this? I'm going to have to work really. All of the things that are subconscious, it was like danger, Will Robinson, danger, right? So she kept it small. And so the opportunity that she had, first off, is allowing that something that she really, really wanted to come back to the surface and actually face in a way that empowers her, that doesn't have to be shrunk because of the old wiring patterns that our brain has. So if you look at things, and listen, these don't have to be big things. These are little patterns that we've had, that we've created, that we do over and over that just don't serve us. One of the patterns that I was able to free up was when I left my corporate job of working 80 to 120 hours a week, I said, I'm never going to work that hard again. Never. And when I first started my business, 13 years ago, my sales coaching business previous to this was, I would do the opposite. It was like 9 to 5, nothing more, nothing less. I'm never going to work that hard again. But as you may know, if you have ever had a business, sometimes in the beginning, you got to do a little bit more work. But my brain, my patterns would not allow me to do it. It was like, danger, don't do that. You said you're never going to work that hard, but it impacted my effectiveness in life, in work, in my business, and really my peace of mind. So there's little patterns that we create, call them traumas. Of course, there's traumas that are big traumas that are unbelievable. And then there's just little traumas that we make things up that become brain patterns for us. So you don't have to live that way anymore. So I invite you, if you have already struggling with something that you're like over and over, you're repeating this pattern and you're sick of it, let's talk. Let's just see if there's something that can be rewired to really begin to help you have the kinds of results that you want in life. So I hope this helps. Look at what those patterns are that you have that you're recreating day in and day out, and start to look at how you can rewire those brain patterns so that you can live the life that you want. Bye for now.